What's up guys, King Crisis here. Welcome to the channel. If you guys know the channel, please like and subscribe. Welcome to the deku how to barrier quirk. Okay guys, this is going to be the first video that is going to be uploaded during my time on my trip. Therefore, I don't intend for this video to ever have a continuation. As a matter of fact, I intend for this video to be quick, simple. It's an easy movie to record. Likely all my videos will be easier movies to record because, well, they're easy. So that being said, welcome to the deku had a barrier quirk. A very simple change is this time on Lime's Inko, her quirk is going to be called Air Wall. It allows Inko the ability to create a wall of air in between her and others. This wall of air is extremely stretchy, and once a person reaches to it, they will either bounce off it or they will just be like, large deep into it. Now, Air Wall is simple, but if a person is strong enough, they can break right through her quirk with ease. Now, via Inko's quirk, she's able to do several things. While Sasashi's quirk is going to be energy manipulation. Hasashi has the power to absorb and redirect energy. Now, here's Izuku's quirk. Izuku has the power to create blue barriers. These said blue barriers have the power to absorb impact, meaning that no matter how powerful you are, the more and more you attack these barriers, the stronger and stronger Izuku's barriers will get. Once his barriers reach their max power, they will have an ability called Outburst, which will allow the barriers to release all of the impact that they stored up in a massive blast. This blast could range from an explosion generated around Izuku's body, or it can be concentrated into a single barrier that can release a singular powerful blast, which could straight up either be an energy beam or just a straight up explosion. With that being said, Izuku now grows up. With Izuku growing up the same way he did in the original timeline until he's 4 years old. The quirk doctor tells Izuku what his quirk is, which I've already explained to you guys, so there's no need to really, get too far into this. Izuku eventually returns to school, and when he does, he explains his quirk to his class, explaining that he's able to create barriers that absorb impact into a certain point where from there he can release said impact. As it is told towards the class becomes pretty intrigued by Izuku's quirk. And actually, they grow up actually admiring and liking Izuku, because in his timeline, he actually has a quirk. Not only does he have a quirk, he has a powerful one at that. A quirk that even the likes of many pro heroes do not have. So, with this being said, Izuku and Bako actually grow up being friends in this timeline. Not only they grow up being friends, they train together. And Izuku quickly realized that, yeah, although his quirk can absorb impact, if the impact is too strong, the barriers can be broken. No matter how powerful your impact is, if it's just not strong enough, his barriers can break. Izuku realized that very quickly and realized that, yeah, his barriers may be powerful, but they do in fact have weaknesses. So, Izuku quickly begins to train every single day, training out in private with Bakugo, training in either Bakugo's backyard or his backyard. After all, guys, using your quirks out in public is illegal. But, since they're in their homes, that's technically not out in the public, so they are allowed to train together. With Inko and Hasashi both being pro heroes, Izuku doesn't really have that much time to really spend time with his parents. But when he does, they will typically teach him something about their quirks. Hasashi explained that although he could just absorb energy from other sources, he can't absorb impact, which of course he gets from his mother's side of his quirk. Which, well, if you hit her air wall, you could bounce off of it, and that's the impact being knocked back. But he explained his quirk is powerful because his barriers are energy related like his own. Okay, so Hasashi taught Izuku many things, teaching Izuku to, instead of creating a large barrier that protects him and you can visibly see the bubble, instead he teaches Izuku to create a more compact and condensed barrier around his body. Said barrier allows Izuku to fight better and better in combat because via using his barrier like this, it's like Izuku gains access to the shock absorption quirk of the Nomu. As well as the fact that more and more hits that Izuku take, the more and more powerful that this barrier gets. Until eventually he's able to release that power into either one sad blow, two sad blows, or three sad blows. It's literally whatever Izuku decides for the amount of power to release to be. Let's not forget, guys, Izuku can just release his power even if it's not at its full power. But it's much wiser for him to release the power at its full power, because if he doesn't, he's pretty much putting himself at jeopardy. Because let's say Izuku's at 20% charged. If he released that little 20%, he just brings his barrier right back to the weakened state. Which means that the villain could hit him with an even more powerful attack than what they did at first. And it could take Izuku down. Easily. So Izuku has to be very careful when it comes to using his powers. Because if he does not use them correctly, a villain could easily defeat him. With that being said, we now time skip on over towards Izuku. He's leaving home from school as Bako runs after him. Yo, you want to go to the arcade later, Izuku? Deku just simply turns, nah, my mom and dad are actually going to be home for once, and I actually want to spend a little bit of time with them. So, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, though. Bakugo says, "Yeah, sure thing, Deku." He would simply smile as Deku proceeds to leave. With Deku leaving, he eventually goes underneath the tunnel as he would have in the original timeline. Like normal, the sludge villain pounces onto Deku and tries to take over his body. But of course, this version of Deku is able to emit his barrier. Said barrier is able to take up a tremendous amount of force and damage. Deku then proceeds to expand his barrier. For the first time in a very long time, he expands his barrier and creates a bubble. Now, the sludge villain literally can't wrap around this whole bubble, so he's actually stuck there. He's stuck, held up against the center of the tunnel. As this happens, you hear, boom, boom, I am here. The fuck? All Might realize that there's a large glowing bluish-green bubble that is seen holding the sludge villain up in the air. All Might then looks forward before saying, "Hey, kid, can you drop that villain for me?" Deku just simply stops and turns, and he sees All Might. And bro instantly drops the barrier and quickly runs out of the way because the sludge villain almost splashed back on him. As he does so, Deku then proceeds to extend his hand outward, as a small bubble would form around the sludge villain. As this happens, All Might will look towards him. "Well, thank you, kid. Hey, man, you have a pretty powerful quirk there, young man. I would love to see what you'll be capable to do in the future." As he says this, Deku's like, "You're All Might." And All Might's like, "Yes, young man, I am. I'm All Might, #1 pro hero. Nice to meet you." And Deku's like, "You're the symbol of peace. You're the greatest hero of all time." All Might's like, "Thank you, young man. But that's not important right now. Are you okay? Are you injured? Or are you hurt in any way, shape, or form?" Izuku just slowly shakes his head no. All Might will say, "Well, good. You're perfectly fine, correct?" Deku will slowly nod. All Might proceeds to fist bump Izuku before he looks forward, and he booms off. Launching himself offward, Deku just stands there shocked. From here, the 10 months of training would start. During Izuku's time of the 10 months of training, Izuku actually straight up goes to his dad and requests him to get a powerful, super duper strong hero to train him. Simply just to punch his barriers, or anyone who has a crazy strength quirk, he wants them to attack his barriers. He wants to strengthen his barrier, as well as the fact that he wants someone to teach him extreme amounts of hand-to-hand combat, as well as teaching him some type of method when it comes to getting stronger combat-wise. Hasashi agrees and decides that, yeah, he'll teach Izuku. He'll get someone to teach him. Hasashi quickly hires a pro hero. We're going to say he hires whatever his power, lock arms, the dude who has a strong arms quirk. He hires him. And during this time period, he trains Izuku physically and mentally, completely breaking Izuku's barriers on a constant level. Every time Izuku's barriers break, guys, he's going to feel an extreme amount of pain from the barriers breaking. Very similar to Arlo from Unordinary. If his barrier is broken, Izuku will feel pain, a severe amount of it at that. Actually, if his barriers are broke too many times, he could straight up die. But Izuku doesn't care. He continued to go through that immense, and I mean immense amount of pain, just so that his barriers could actually grow stronger. And of course, due to him training with a powerful pro hero such as Cannon Arm, Lock Arms, what the fuck. Due to him training with him for so long, Izuku's able to get his barriers up to an immense level of power. So now we time skip on over towards the UA entrance exams. I'm gonna say the exams from the beginning roll out mostly as normal. Izuku's still gonna be a quirky nerd in this timeline. For the sake of the video, he's still gonna mutter. But this version of Izuku is also gonna be a little bit calmer than the canon Izuku, because people don't seem to understand this. Deku's not nice. He's not no Cinnamon. He's not no nice character. He is a psychopath. Canon Deku is a psychopath. He will always be a psychopath. I don't get what makes people think that he's normal, he's controlled. No! He's a psychopath. Plain and simply. With that being said, guys, we time skip. Boop. So, Izuku eventually walks forward towards the gates. This time around, he completely ignores Ochako, and there he looks forward. The gates would eventually open. As soon as the gates open up, Deku looks forward. He wraps his barrier around himself, and he quickly runs inside. We're not going to put Deku at crazy levels of speed, but he is going to be equivalent to a 15% one for all Deku speed-wise, which is really fast, but not crazy fast. So he winds up getting there pretty quickly. He runs towards the first robot he sees, jumps up, and punches it. He's able to put a significant dent into the robot, this robot being a 3-pointer. And the robot actually stumbles back a bit, but the robot isn't destroyed. He jumps up when he punches the robot again, this time punching it in the head. He then punches it again, and again, and again, and again. After about 10 consecutive blows, he actually manages to take down the robot. Izuku quickly realizes that this isn't going to work. It takes him too long to defeat one robot, and that's only 3 points on his thing now. So Izuku starts being smarter. He starts getting in the way of other contestants fighting, actually being hit by the robots, like physically hit by the robots over and over and over and over and over again. Aizawa and all the others are seeing this, they're like, well, why is he taking hits from the robot? What is this kid doing? They will watch onward. As Izuku does so, he also begins to save other students by placing barriers over them, around them, or in between them during times where they needed a barrier. Times where rubble would almost fall on them or a robot would actually almost kill them. He always placed barriers around them. And in doing so, his barriers were broke several times, which does in fact injure Izuku. But other times, his barriers actually absorbed enough impact to gain more power, which of course that power goes straight to him. From here, Izuku has done this for most of the time in the exams, not realizing that this is bad. He now realizes he only has 5 minutes left and he's only charged to 70%. Izuku decides that he might have to just break it out and use his overcharge form, but he decides not to. He decides to keep going on and keep saving people until eventually the 0 pointer arrives. When the 0 pointer arrives, Izuku, who is now charged at a good 80%, realizes that, yeah, he doesn't have much of a choice. He blitzes forward like he would have in the original timeline, running forward to save Ochako. As Izuku runs, he eventually, he tackles her. Using his barriers, he ends up moving the rubble away from her, literally, getting close to her. He grabs her arm, which covered her in a barrier instantly, and then he expanded the barrier, which pushed the rubble off of her. From here, Izuku then proceeds to wait as the 0 pointer starts running towards them. Deku panics. He picks her up and he starts to run, but eventually the 0 pointer gets just too close, and it almost reaches him. As it does, Deku then yells, "Impact! Burst!" as a massive wave of energy just explodes out from Deku, and the 0 pointer is straight up fried instantly. Ochako sees this, and all the teachers see, and their eyes would widen. What the hell? They all would ask, who the hell is that kid? President Mike would say. Aizawa then would pull up his records. Izuku Midoriya, son of Inko Midoriya and Asashi Midoriya. Huh? This is the son of... This is the son of the Air Queen? And the son of Energon as well. That's unexpected. His quirk is incredible. I'm surprised he completely destroyed the 0 pointer in one blast. And then would say, but the kid can't do that all the time. He had to gain enough impact. According to his quirk files, the kid has the ability to build up damage and turn that damage to his barriers into power. It's almost like shock absorption. He get that from his father's side of his quirk. So the kid's barriers just aren't that powerful. He can't do that all the time. Correct. So this entire time, whilst he was saving people and taking hits from rubble as well as robots, he was building up his power. The kid likely was going to use it all in a swell burst and use all of his stored up power to destroy several robots at one time, getting him enough points to get in. But since he saved that girl's life along with several other students, the kid already has enough hero points to make it into 1A, which is straight up insane for a kid like this. He has enough power to get into 1A. That's incredible. Indeed. That means we have to see what this kid is really capable of now. Someone with this type of power, yeah, we gotta make sure we watch him. Kid is crazy strong. Aizawa, are you ready for this? Aizawa smirks. I'm gonna have a bit of fun with this one. From here, guys, we now time skip. Now, Deku makes it home. When he makes it home, he tells his parents how everything went. And Inko and Asashi are very intrigued, hoping and praying that Izuku gets into UA. But if he doesn't, they'll understand. At the end of the day, his quirk just ain't the same. Right? It's not a real combat-based quirk, but who knows? They trust their son and they believe in their son. So there's a high chance of him actually getting in. So from here, we wait. Bloop, 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 bloop. Now, Deku gets his letter in the mail. When his letter comes in the mail, it is decided that he in fact made it into Class 1A. Deku gets extremely ecstatic, and we now cut on over towards his first day in Class 1A. When Deku shows up, we're going to say everything with Ochako plays out like canon. She tells him that he's extremely powerful, they thinks him. But not only that, also other students in the class begin to think Deku, because he didn't only save Ochako, but also several other kids. As well as the fact that he stopped the fielder from getting, let's just say, knocked out or hurt, just slightly. Anything was very simple, but he saved other kids, and a lot of them would thank Izuku for that. With this being said, we're gonna say the Scene in locker room gonna play out the same, and we're gonna say that the ball throw test and all those tests, Deku gets around mid of the class because guys, his quirk isn't extremely powerful. I cannot stress this enough. Although it has powerful effects, that takes time. That takes a lot of time and energy for him to actually be able to use that level of power. It's similar to Fat Gum's quirk. So when Izuku released that power, he has to build that power back up. Not only is that the case, his barrier is becoming a very weak-like state, almost glass-like state. Very breakable, very simple. So he's not necessarily going to be able to just do these overpowered things just like that because, well, he's just not on that level yet. It's pretty simple. No matter what, he's just not there yet. With that being said, guys, we now time skip. You see Deku. Deku could be seen preparing to train with his father. My bad. Actually, yeah. Deku made it back home this day. His day was pretty trash. I mean, after all, he only got like 6th place in a lot of the events, and he's a little bit angry. Like, he wanted to get higher than that, but his quirk just isn't that. Hasashi looks towards Izuku. Kid, you don't understand the concept of your quirk. Izuku, do you know about Captain Celebrity? Izuku looks forward. Yeah, America's #1 pro. Well, former #1 pro. He apparently became a drug addict. Crazy, huh? Hasashi says, yeah, but he was an extremely powerful hero. Many people said that in his prime, him and All Might were neck and neck. Although, don't believe that for any reason. After all, I've personally seen All Might in his prime, and Captain Celebrity was really overrated. But after all, that's what Americans do. They overrate their heroes, just like they overrate everything else they have. But Izuku, your quirk has potential, man. You can absorb damage and impact. Do you not understand how powerful that is? I can only absorb one person's energy, and absorbing their energy can do nothing but make them tired. It doesn't make me any stronger. I can release their energy into little energy blasts and fly, but that's not powerful as yours. Sure, I could take down mediocre villains, or like I'd say mid-level villains to low tiers to, I'd say, city block levels, but Izuku, with your power and the amount of power you can release, kid, you could take down continents. If you build up enough power, enough energy, and who knows what your quirk awakening would allow you to do. My quirk awakening gave me the ability to fly. Izuku, if you were to ever experience a quirk awakening, kid, your power would be astronomical. That's why you are who you are. That's why you are my son. Don't ever underestimate yourself, Izuku, because you have the power to be a great hero. You have the potential to be better than the likes of even myself. Don't underestimate yourself, Izuku, because you are amazing. You're a Midoriya after all. Hasashi would rub Izuku's head, as from here, he would walk off. With Hasashi walking off, Izuku just kind of stood there. He takes in everything his father says, and he realizes, yeah, so what? So what if he couldn't just get a stupid little ball throw test right? After all, he did pretty decent in everything. So from here, we time skip on over towards the hero versus villains. All Might comes to the classroom. I'm walking through the door like a normal person. The class goes wild and hysteric. Everyone except for Deku. This is Deku's like second time seeing All Might, so like it's not as great as the first time. All Might comes to the door, and when he does so, he ends up giving everyone their hero costumes. For the sake of the story, since I don't really care that much, we're gonna say his hero costume is almost the exact same. We're just gonna make it the movie 2 version. Alright, the movie 3 hero costume, because I feel like those suits are just way cooler than the ones that Deku actually wear. So yeah, it's gonna be his hero 3 costume. With him getting his costume and the rest of the class being prepared for the teams, we're gonna say that the teams are gonna be Deku and Kirishima versus Bakugo and Ida. Deku sees he's on a team with Kirishima, and Kirishima sees he's on a team with Deku. He walks forward, where from there he ends up fist bumping him and saying, "Thank you, man. I guess it's cool that we're on teams together." Deku looks towards Kirishima before saying, "Yeah, it's cool that we're on teams together." He winds up fist bumping her. Yeah, I'm making Kirishima her. I just realized that it would be better, and this is going to be the ship of the video, so Kirishima's a her. He ends up fist bumping her, where from there he was told, "Thank you. Is it okay if I call you Inaya?" She looks forward before saying, Fine, you can call me Inaya, but I really want to be called Kirishima. Like, boy, call me by my name. It's like, but your name is Inaya. And she's like, but I want to be called Kirishima. Now, they walk inside. As they walk inside, Deku tells her, Bakugo's gonna come for me first. And since he's gonna come for me first, I need you to go after Ida. Your hardening quirk should be enough to actually take his hits. She looks forward and explains. You think so? Deku would nod. He then says, even if not. He looks towards her as a slim blue barrier would form over her. She looks at him and questions, why do you think I need this? My quirk is hardening. I basically am a barrier. He looks at her and says, you never know. Extra support just in case. As she says this, Deku then will say, 5, 4, 3, 2, dodge. Deku, both of them at the same time, would jump away as Bakugo came crashing out and launched an explosion at the ground. Deku looks forward. As he looks forward and sees his facial expression, he will say, as expected. You really thought you was fenced to hit me. As he looks forward, she looks at him with a much more serious facial expression. Hey, Zuko, do you think you can handle this guy? Deku explains, I've been fighting Bakugo all my life, Inari. I got this. Kirishima proceeds to run upstairs. Mind you guys, Inari is Kirishima. I just simply changed him to a her. So instead of Ijiro, it's Inari Kirishima. Just want to point that out. But she runs upstairs. With her running upstairs, she's going after Ida. So from here, time skip. Boom. Deku rushes forward towards Bakugo, and immediately he goes in for a punch. Bakugo dodges. He ends up striking Deku in the stomach with an explosion. Deku jumps backwards. His stomach will slightly glow blue for a moment, but Deku still feels a bit of heat. Bakugo explains, your barriers can protect you from a lot of things, but heat isn't one of them. Deku then looks forward. He starts laughing. That's true. My barriers aren't fireproof. They aren't waterproof either. But they can take a lot of it. Bakugo looks at him. Oh, please. As he cracks his neck and he runs forward towards Deku. He immediately goes in for explosion after explosion. Deku begins to dodge each of the explosions before punching Bakugo across the face with his barrier. Now, when Deku has his barriers around his body, his strength and speed are enhanced up to a 15% one for all. Like I've already said. So, they're powerful, they just aren't crazy powerful. So, Deku begins to go in on Bakugo, but Bakugo also begins to go in on Deku. It is an even playing field, and it's very clear that both of them are crazy powerful. If I had to put Bakugo somewhere in terms of power, he's equivalent to his Season 3 self, and Deku is also equivalent to his Season 3 self as well. So as they're going at it in battle with each other, Deku winds up jumping backwards. He starts to create several barriers in between him and Bakugo. I say about 6 circular walls in between the two of them. Bakugo goes launching forward with a huge explosion to boom through each of the walls, which of course he successfully does so. And with each breaking wall, Deku feels more and more pain. As Bakugo appears right in front of him, he smashes Deku with a mean punch to the guts that launches up an explosion. Deku then is thrown back as Bakugo rushes forward towards him as he grabs Deku by the face, uses his other hand, launches an explosion, and slams Deku onto the ground. As he does so, Bakugo looks at him. You're down, hero. How do you feel? Deku just looks at him. Oh, damn. Bro, it hurts, bro. Shit. Oh, fuck, my arm. My arm. Bakugo, bro. Bakugo's like, I'm sorry, Deku. As he says, Deku and says, idiot. As he instantly expands his barriers at a rapid speed so fast that Bakugo winds up being slammed up against the top of the roof. As he does so, Deku then proceeds to get upwards. With his barrier holding Bakugo up against the roof, Bakugo then proceeds to put his arms to the back of him. As he then proceeds to make an explosion that shoots the roof, that, destroys the part of the roof that he was, being held up against. He's now launched upward towards the second floor, where from there, Deku proceeds to literally call his barrier back to him as he runs full speed and he launches himself through the same exact hole Bakugo just made. As he lands on the second floor, he runs forward towards him and immediately goes in for a punch. Bakugo proceeds to dodge and strike an explosion to Deku's face. Deku stumbles backwards. He launches literally uses one of his barriers and he jumps off of it. As he jumps off his barrier, he comes flying in like a bullet and he rises back his fist and goes in for a punch on Bakugo, which of course Bakugo would dodge and launch an explosion of his own. Deku and the other two Deku and Bakugo are now staring each other down. As they stare each other down, Bakugo looks towards him. How do you feel, Deku? Deku starts breathing heavily. First off, Bakugo, bro, you're strong as shit. I mean, you ain't as strong as me, but I mean, you're pretty freaking strong. Bakugo looks at him. Oh yeah? I'll show you real power, you fucking nerd. As she gets to a fighting stance, Deku just looks at him. What is up with him in this? You fucking nerd, you fucking nerd, you fucking nerd. Like, who do you think you are? Bakugo looks at him. I'll show you who I am, you damn nerd. As he proceeds to grab that pin, Deku's like, Kachan, what are you doing? Bakugo's like, showing no mercy. As he does so, he launches the pin. Deku instantly explodes in power, activates his barrier at his full power, as well as proceeds to activate his preparing to unleash his beam of power. As he does so, he blasts off, releasing 40% of his power, which isn't enough. Bakugo's explosion winds up overtaking Deku's energy blast. As it does so, shaboom! The dust clears. All Might was screaming at Bakugo, no, you'll kill him! Bakugo's like, he's not gonna die, I know this dude better than you do. The smoke clears, and Deku was seen still standing there, barrier intact. Actually, barrier cracked up. He's on one knee and he's breathing heavily. Bakugo then proceeds to kick Deku in his guts, and Deku's barrier would shatter. And Deku falls out, unconscious. From here, Kirishima winds up defeating Ida, but as she defeats Ida, Bakugo approaches upstairs. Kirishima looks forward towards him, with her barrier now slipping off of her body and literally deactivating. She looks on a bit confused, but Bakugo says, Izuku's down. You're next, little girl. As he launches explosions forward, from there, him and Kirishima would have a small battle, but in the end, Bakugo defeats them. And for the very first time, I think, in like what if history, Bakugo actually wins the hero versus villains. That's genuinely weird. Why did you do that? I don't know. I don't ever do that. He wins though. With this being the case, we now cut on over towards the next few days, where we're discussing who should be the class president. For the sake of the video, the class president is still going to be Ida. Mainly because I just did not feel like trying to even make this any different. So, Ida is still going to be the class president. With Ida still being the class president, we now cut on over towards Deku and the rest of the class. On the bus, as they're discussing who are the strongest in the class, Deku isn't even brought up in this conversation. Because they believe that they think Kirishima, she's a bit stronger than Deku. At least physically, she's stronger. They think Kaminari has more power than Deku. Bakugo has more power than Deku. Todoroki has more power than Deku. Tsukiyomi has more power than Deku. Ida has more speed than Deku. Deku's considered to be the 7th boy in the class when it came down to power. And it all was still talking about that until Ochako says, but that attack he has, what was it called? Energy burst or outburst? Energy impact? I ain't gonna fake. I said that move like 20 minutes ago and I forgot the name of the move. But as she says it, she's like, he has that move. Deku then would say, yeah, I do, but that move can only be achieved after a certain amount of damage is reached. After I've used a certain amount of my power, I can't just do that all the time. As he says this, she just looks at him. So? You still have something in your arsenal that's more than powerful enough to take them down. They didn't explain, but he used the move against Bakugo, and it didn't work. Deku explained because the move wasn't fully charged. I didn't have it at my full power. If I did, no doubt I would have defeated Bakugo. Bakugo says, yeah, you probably would have fucking killed me. Deku then would say, says the guy who fucking threw a nuke at me. Not a nuke. It's equivalent to, I say, a missile. You still almost blew me up. Bakugo's like, but you survived. I ain't doing nothing wrong. Did I? Did I do something wrong? I mean, did I do? Clearly he's alive and it's true. As he says, the rest of the class just remains a bit silent. Huh. Okay. So, just like that, he still won. With this being the case, they eventually make it on over towards the USJ. We're going to say from here, things play out like canon. Deku still winds up being trapped inside the water zone, and Froppy still ends up being the one to save him. Because there was no point in putting up a barrier, because he's already underwater. Which means that if he were to put up a barrier, he would straight up drown himself. So, that isn't smart to do. Izuku begins to try swimming around, but of course Froppy winds up saving him. As Froppy ends up saving him, she ends up asking Izuku, like, what are they gonna do? Deku then explains he has 2 more abilities of his barrier. They're very rare and he can't use them often, but he has the power to make bouncy barriers. As he says this, Froppy, I just look at him confused. Why? He's saying that his mother's side of his quirk, well, his mother's quirk is called Air Wall, which allows her to create a stretchy wall of air between her and things. Once she creates this wall of air, she either has the power to bounce off of it herself, Or, so your mother's quirk is similar to to the gentle criminal. Actually, they're siblings, Deku would say quietly. And yes, it is very similar. As he says this, they would look forward. What that means that your mom's quirk is powerful, so you have an ability similar. Deku would nod. As he nods, Froppy and Mineta would look forward. We trust you then. As they say this, Deku has a smile on his face, where from there he proceeds to power up. A blue aura starts coming off of Deku as Deku proceeds to activate his quirk. He starts jumping up and down on his barriers, but from there, he uses his barriers and he launches himself forward. Launching launching Suyu and Mineta with him. As he begins to jump, he begins to create several barriers over and over and over again, jumping from each to barriers to each one, until eventually they make it to where Aizawa and Anomu were. And guys, honestly, there's not really much Deku can do here. Although his quirk is powerful, he creates a barrier around Aizawa, but it doesn't do much. The Nomu instantly breaks right through Deku's barrier, which immediately put Deku into one knee because that was a crazy powerful barrier he just made, and the Nomu shot right through it. The Nomu from here still begins to beat on Aizawa, but Izuku decides he's not going to sit there and let this happen. He creates a barrier around himself, the most powerful one he could muster, jumps forward, and he winds up taking a hit from the Nomu. Deku from here is sent flying, with his barrier quickly cracking. But it's a surprise of Deku. One hit, he just charged him up to 39%. Deku looks forward, stunned at what just happened. So he runs forward and does it again, taking another hit that was meant for Aizawa. The Nomu just looks towards him, and Shigaraki then looks towards the Nomu. Kill the brat. The Nomu turns towards Deku and it rushes forward, but Deku proceeds to tank all the Nomu's attacks. Not really tank. His barrier was being cracked and destroyed with each attack that he tanked, but he kept repairing the barrier and kept tanking more and more attacks. Deku was quickly brought up to 100%. As he's now down on one knee, he looks up with his eyes glowing a fearsome blue and flames coming off of it. Deku roused back his fist and a bang! Boom! Deku's fist bulked up, as he literally seems to have a fist made out of barrier-like energy around his hand. Deku looks forward a bit surprised at the gauntlet that just formed on his hand. The Nomu was sent flying as the Nomu proceeds to stand up. Deku just looks confused. The fuck? And the Nomu rushes forward towards him. As it does so, the Nomu proceeds to headbutt Deku. And Deku sent flying, but Deku slammed both his hands together. Kame, Hame, ha! Deku proceeds to use his full power outburst straight towards the Nomu with no hesitation. And this thing dies, it just dies. He don't care. Deku proceeds to completely fry the top half of the Nomu. And just like that, he won. He completely incinerated it. And Shigaraki and Korogiri watch his arm, they were shocked. But from here, they proceed to portal away. And from here, we time skip. Deku could be seen training. And as he's seen, well, actually, we're going to time skip just straight to the USJ. So, I'm at my bad, to the sports festival. Fuck, I'm getting that fucking tired confusion. But yeah, the USJ. So his block goes to the one who stored first place. We're going to say he says the same thing in the original timeline. And actually, we're going to say Deku still gets first place via the same method in the original timeline. We'll just say he used a bit of his barrier powers here and there. But he still winds up getting first place, and he still winds up having the same exact team. We're just going to throw Kirishima in there for the sake of plot. With her being thrown in the mix, her and Deku were flirting literally the whole time. And everyone there is like, bro, fucking kiss already. I mean, jeez. But two of them were flirting the whole time. As they're flirting, they wind up they just hear, bro, are y'all to go fuck or are y'all to go save us? Pick a fucking struggle. As they say that, everyone just looks, bro, why are you so freaked out? Why are you so freaked out? Freaky ah. Freaky ah. Time skip, baby. Bloop, 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 boom. Ooh. My name is Cleveland Brown. Whew. Okay, so we're going to say the first match. Deku versus Shinso. Now, Deku was told, as he was in the original timeline, not to speak to him. So, Deku decides to do something different. Instead of actually replying to Shinso, Deku mentally responded to him, calling him a bitch asshole, and then he proceeds to use his barrier and he pushed him out of the ring with it. This being said, the next match is Deku versus Todoroki. And instead of Todoroki approaching Deku and saying that he's going to defeat him, instead, Deku approached Todoroki this timeline, and he looked him dead in his eyes. Look at me when I tell you this. You're underestimating me. I can feel it. Todoroki then proceeds to look at him. Maybe I am. I haven't seen you do anything that was really interesting. Deku then would say, I could destroy you. Todoroki looks at him and laughs. Sure you can, Deku. Sure you can. I'd like to see you try it, though. Prove to me that you can destroy me. As Todoroki proceeds to walk away. Todoroki walking away, Deku then would say, use both your quirks. This caused Todoroki to stop, and he slowly turned. Remember your fucking place. As Todoroki walked off. With Todoroki walking off, everyone who was in the locker room just looked onward. This isn't a moment like where they had to leave in a slight bit of alone time. No. This is a whole lot more serious. Deku says, I'll destroy him. And Bako walks up to him, hey man, you know that guy is powerful, Deku. Are you sure about this? Deku then looks towards him. You're underestimating me now, Kachan? You're underestimating me too? Bako remains a bit silent. No, I'm not underestimating you. It's just, he's unhinged. You seen when he did to Sero. He's supposed to be one of our friends, and he fucking ice aged him. As he says, Deku says, so what? I don't care. You think just because I have some stupid defense powers, you think I won't be able to defeat him? I have more than enough power to take him down. Bako says, that's not what I mean, Deku. Well, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like that you're underestimating me. You're supposed to be my best friend, and you're underestimating me right now. You think I can't do it? If you think I can't do it, just tell me that you think that. As he says this, Bako looks towards him. I would never tell you that. Because you can do this, Deku. Please don't think I'm underestimating you. Deku said, then what is it? Are you afraid of him? Do you think you can't defeat him? Bakugo remains silent. You have to get charged up, Deku. I don't want you to take too much damage out there to defeat him. Deku looks towards him. I'll do what I got to. Because I will take that bastard down. I have to. I have to show you that I'm not some weakling. I'm not mid. I'm not just in the middle of the class. I'm not a fucking Kota and Mineta. Deku would say. I'm better than that. Alright? I deserve to be in the top of the class. I deserve to be some of the most powerful. And I'm going to prove it right now when I kick Todoroki's ass. As he says this, Deku will say, now my match is starting. Are you going to cheer for me or are you going to worry about me? Don't fucking worry. As he says this, he walks out. When walking outward, of course he makes it to the ring. Well, Deku making it to the ring as he would have in the original timeline. He's now, obviously enough, right across from Todoroki. He looks forward, and Todoroki looks forward towards him. The match will start, and Todoroki instantly shot away with ice. But it's too predictable. Deku instantly puts up his barrier and jumps out of the way. As he jumps out of the way, Deku comes running in at full speed and immediately punches Todoroki dead across the face. He then proceeds to literally drop to the ground as he spins and sweep kicks Todoroki, jumps upward, and then proceeds to punch Todoroki down the face again. As he does so, Todoroki's surprised as Deku starts rattling on him, hitting him with right hook after left hook after right hook after left hook, right, left, right, boom! Todoroki is now stumbling back. He's pushed back as Deku comes running forward. He jumps up and he double leg drops him, which causes Todoroki to rock back a little bit. He looks forward and he sees Todoroki running at him. Full speed, no brakes. Todoroki pounces and he kicks Deku. Deku stumbles back as he begins to hold his face in pain as blood begins to pour from his nose. He looks forward and Todoroki is already right in front of him as he spins again and smacks Deku with another ruthless, unholy, destructive kick. As he does so, Todoroki stumbles back. He looks upward towards Deku, who's running at him, as Deku then says, use your damn fire! As he goes in for a punch, Todoroki winds up jumping backwards as he throws away the ice towards Deku. Deku creates a barrier shield. It literally takes the form of a shield as he blocks Todoroki ice, now gaining power from said impact. Deku then proceeds to quickly lift up his hand and yell, repulsor! As he literally unleashed a beam of energy towards Todoroki. As this happens, Todoroki's hit by it, he slides back. So you're using your you're actually using your offensive powers. Deku then looks towards Force and shut the hell up. As Todoroki looks at him, what are you so mad for? Are you mad because you're weaker than me? And you just what? You're acting like you got something to prove. Deku looks forward because I do have something to prove. I have to prove that I'm not weaker than you. Todoroki would stop. You gotta prove you're not weaker than me? Is this what this is about? No, it's just that everyone thinks that I'm weak. Everyone thinks that I can't do it. And I don't want to keep fighting you if you're not going to use your full power against me. I refuse to be embarrassed. So what if I defeat you if you're only using half of your power? Todoroki looks at him. I'm not going to use... Deku says, I don't know you, you don't know me. But one thing that I do know is that's your power. Why are you not using your power? I'm so confused right now. It's your power. It makes you stronger. No one else. So why don't you just use it? You're being weird. You're weird if you don't use your own power. And without even knowing it, literally without even knowing it, Deku hit that same speech, or not the same, but basically the same speech that he did in the original timeline that inspired Todoroki to use his other half of his power. As he says all this, Todoroki's like, you're right. It is my power. It's my power. It's not his. It's mine. Deku just looks at him confused. The fuck are you talking? Yes, it's your... Wait, what? Yes, it's your... Boom! Todoroki erupts in flames. And as he does so, he looks forward towards Deku. Deku quickly jumps backwards as he begins to feel an intense amount of heat. That's Deku's weakness. His barriers cannot be used underneath water, and in situations of intense heat, his barriers can actually work against him because they're already hot as hell inside of his barriers. So more outside heat ain't gonna help him. He jumps backwards, and Todoroki lifts up his hand and throws an Arctic ice wave. The ice wave rushes forward towards Deku. Deku proceeds to block it with the most of his powers he can outburst. As he does so, he then proceeds to start taking several more ice blasts from Todoroki, as well as dodging fire blasts from him. Deku realized that when fighting against Todoroki, it's best to tank his ice attacks because they're able to build up power, as well as dodge his fire attacks. But he quickly starts to realize that Deku bit off more than he can chew, because Todoroki just started to put out more and more and more power, and he's not able to charge up fast enough against Todoroki. So he starts shooting off more and more and more repulsor beams, shooting lower wave ones, low power outputs. But as he realizes that this isn't going to be enough, so Deku decides that fuck it. He's just going to give up. He slowly but surely proceeds to raise his hand, but suddenly a voice just tells him, there's a thought in his mind. You're not weak. Your quirk is powerful. You are powerful. Use your barriers to their true might. You have to understand what your power is really capable of, kid. Your quirk is not weak. You have barriers. You have the power to manipulate energy and take the form of a construct to protect you and others. You have the power to build up that energy and protect and gain that energy. As he begins to do so, Deku's eyes begins to glow more and more and more and more. As he begins to he begins to just have this urge of belief overcome him. You're not weak. Stop thinking that you're weak because you have power like none before. You are better than that. Nothing can put you down, and no one should be able to put you down. As he begins to think this, his eyes glows more and more and more and more and more and more and more. As suddenly the barrier around his body slowly but surely begins to change. From being the form of a barrier to the form of a fucking knight armor, as well as a whole knight helmet. As this happens, Deku begins to feel power like crazy. As this happens, Todoroki looks forward, not knowing what's happening, but believing Deku's like powering up or some shit. So he proceeds to use the same move he would have used in the original timeline. And well, Deku's knocked out of the ring from it. Not because it's more powerful, but because the impact knocked him out. So the impact, the wind pressure, all that was enough to throw Deku out of the ring. But with this newfound power that Deku just awakened, Deku now wants to know what this is. But of course, we're going to say Bakugo still destroys Todoroki, and Bakugo's still the winner. With Bakugo still being the winner, we see Deku walking off. And as he walks off, he bumps into All Might. I'm sorry, All Might. All Might then looks at him. Hey, you're just the guy I was looking for. I wanted to talk to you, young Midoriya. As he does so, we will get the canon one for all speech that he would have gotten in the original timeline, but of course, he's getting it a little bit later. As he gets the speech, Deku just looks forward. You want me to inherit your quirk? And All Might looks at him and says, yeah, I want you to inherit my quirk. Deku begins to think about it, and then he quickly decides, of course I'll take your quirk. Guys, this version of Deku is a little bit ashamed of himself, because he wants to be the most powerful, literally, no matter what. He wants to prove to people that just because he has a barrier quirk, that he's something. So as Izuku's leaving, he winds up bumping into Ochako. Ochako, not my bad. I keep saying Ochako even though it's supposed to be Kirishima. He bumps into female Kirishima. She winds up hugging him, explaining that you're okay. Okay? You're powerful and don't let that stress you out. No matter what, you are powerful. You got this. She hugs him and Deku just starts smiling. A huge smile comes across his face and she explains, you proved just then that you can keep up with those guys, that you're not just, hell, Koda and Mineta level. Hell, I been knew you wasn't. Deku will tell her thank you. And as he does so, he looks at her and asks, do you want to hang out sometime? Like, we could go to a movie or we could, skating, out to eat, like, anything you want. She looks at him and says, that'd be nice. We could go out to eat. Deku would smile. As he smiled, she would say, it's a date. From here, time skip. Deku and her had a great time out on their date. Deku also accepted one for all during this time period. And he actually got one for all very quickly because he has a body strong enough to handle one for all. Not only can he do that, his quirk is extremely powerful. So, he was good. He can handle one for all. He can really handle one for all. So, now we get a time skip again, guys. Blah, 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 blah. My name is Gluklop from Planet Glu 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 Glu. Please ignore my yapping. This being the case, guys, we're now going to time skip. Okay. Guys, we're going to time skip. Anyways, you now see me, I'd say. We now see them going over towards the teachers versus student event. Let me help this girl out real quick. Now, guys, what the fuck was that? Now, guys, with Deku realizing, in the other class, realizing that, yeah, they gotta fight against their teachers, we're gonna say that this timeline, Deku and Todoroki are gonna have to be the ones to fight against All Might. And Deku realizing he has Todoroki in his team, he's a bit uncomfortable. Cause, like, Deku low-key does not like Todoroki. Not even low-key, he doesn't. Because everyone kept comparing him to Todoroki since the start of the school year, and he really does not like that guy. And all Might knows that Deku doesn't like Todoroki. Todoroki doesn't really care for Deku. Like, you know, he doesn't have issues with Deku. Like, actually, Todoroki low-key thinks Deku cool, but that doesn't matter because Deku don't like him. And it's very well known across the class because Deku makes it so fucking obvious. But with this being the case, Deku realizes he's gonna have to team with Todoroki. And Todoroki looks towards Deku and he just quickly tells him, like, yo, we have to come up with a plan. And Deku looks at him. My plan is that I'm going to kick All Might's ass and you're not going to get in my way. As he says, Todoroki's like, bro, what's your beef with me? Deku's like, everyone keeps comparing me to you. For what? Think I'm some type of fucking weakling? No. Well then good. I got this. Time skip. The match will begin. As soon as the match begins, Deku activates One For All at 15%, and from there, the fight will begin. He puts his barrier and puts One For All on top of him, giving him access to 30%, essentially. Deku cracks his neck and he booms forward towards All Might. Immediately, Deku appears right in front of him and immediately smacks All Might across the face. And All Might was sent flying, and the entire class was surprised, because during that little time skip, like, Deku had power. Oh, by the way, guys, Sustain Arc went the exact same due to Deku still going to be training with Gran Torino to learn full Cow Link. And even with his barriers, he already was able to use like 14% at this point. So, I say things just go up to canon. Because really, Stain isn't going to be able to cut Deku because he can't cut through Deku's barriers. So, Deku wins with absolute ease. So, from here, we time skip, baby. Time skip, baby. Time skip, baby. Time skip, baby. Like maybe. Oh, don't play with me. 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 Boop. Okay, so to be honest, Todoroki is able to constantly throw Ice Blast towards All Might. All Might has to constantly evade the Ice Blast, but the issue is Deku's constantly able to land consecutive blows to All Might's back, ribs, and stomach area. Deku knows All Might's weaknesses, and he's actually using them against All Might, which is a bit fucked up because this is dude's teacher, but he doesn't care. His purpose of doing this right now is to win. Deku's way more serious, okay? He's doing everything he can. He's pushing All Might back. Todoroki throwing Ice Blast, and Deku decides, fuck this. He activates his barrier, proceeds to activate Repulsor Boom as he shoots a massive blast towards All Might. Wraps Todoroki up in his barrier, telekinetically like throws his barrier, which means he just telekinetically threw Todoroki to the finish line. As he does so, Todoroki just crossed that finish line. All Might looks towards Deku, he's like, you ain't getting away from me that easy. And Deku's like, yes I am. As Deku proceeds to enter his night form. As he does so, he proceeds to get into a fighting stance. Him and All Might begins to go blow for blow. Shockwave after shockwave after shockwave. All Might's only using 50%, but Deku's in his night form, which is his most powerful form, and using 30% of One for All with it. So I say that's equivalent to 60%. So, as they're going blow for blow for blow, Deku eventually just gets pushed back. As he's getting pushed back, Deku proceeds to look towards All Might and he smiles. Okay, All Might, you strong, but I'm out. As he booms off full speed, putting all his power he could, he made it to that finish line. From here, guys, we're going to say things will play out like canon. Muscular still attacks, Deku still completely destroys Muscular, and everything's going to play out to canon into the All for One fight, which of course, this timeline, Deku enters his night form, goes straight to One for All at 40%. Mind you guys, his max One for All output is 50%, which does in fact mean he has awakened Black Whip, Smoke Screen, and the other quirks of One for All. He actually going to awaken these quirks during his time period in the 4th training camp arc. But to be honest, during that time frame, he awakened the quirks and he easily is able to use the powers of each of them. Which means that when All for One attacks, Deku's there and he swoops in. Alongside All Might, they wind up taking down All for One. From here, guys, that's where we're going to be ending off this series. With All for One being taken care of and him actually being killed. Because the user's purpose of One for All is to kill All for One. And with both of them using a dual United States of Smash, yeah, All for One fucking dies. He dies. Him being dead, the League of Villains not managing to escape in this timeline because other pro heroes are there and they actually capable of taking them down. The League doesn't escape. Overhaul tries to do the same thing in the Universal Timeline, but hey, he still winds up being taken down by Deku. Honestly, this is going to be ending off this video. The next video is going to be what if Deku was a Todoroki. Because, yet again, easy what ifs, easy videos, not too time consuming. That being said, guys, I'm out.